did they continue the next day to continue looking at that man and bowing down in their authority as their pastor every day, and be raped 2 times, 3 times? Were they then acceptably agreeing it as a normal thing, which became now not even rape? Hello there. Welcome to Karaoke Moment YouTube channel, where we have a tagline and we believe in life is a journey, you walk in it. We discuss life conversations and everything that encompasses our journey while on this earth. We have been having this story about one of our pastors, the late pastor, T.B. Joshua. He's the late, and it has been documented by BBC Africa News. It's a story that has been going on about the unmasking his ministry when he was alive and his church that is based in Nigeria. And I've been listening to it, and I want to say as a Christian, number one, and I've been watching the videos. So far I've seen 3 episodes in the past 1 week. I don't know whether there are more, but so far I've watched 3. And I just felt inspired to just bring a conversation, since this is a live conversation. It's something that is happening while we are here and living. So I thought, why don't we just have some conversations and see what is being said? Because even other than just the life of the late pastor, T.B. Joshua, there are other people also who have come to bring in their thoughts and many other things that are happening. And that's our live conversation today and our discussion. And basically, I can put a disclaimer from the word go. I am not here to judge. I am not here to say whether the thoughts that have been presented by the speakers and the many videos, including the one that I don't know whether it was the first one, but I watched it first from the BBC Africa News television channel, whereby it's unmasking his life and the church. I'm not here to say he's guilty or innocent. Neither am I here to judge whether the people who have brought their witnessing or to bring the story, who have been interrogated and part of the documentary, whether they are guilty or not. But I just felt inspired to look at it in a very temporal way, a very neutral way. As a matter of fact, maybe even lessons that they are in and what it all means. So I want us to watch and listen to me when I moderate it, because you are part of this, to discuss with very sober mind, no judgmental thoughts, no emotional, irrational, but just to try and learn what is this that is happening. And if you're new in this channel, I welcome you to subscribe. If you've been in this channel there before, I want to thank you for coming back and finding a moment to come and discuss with us. Don't forget to like, to subscribe. If you haven't, to bring in your comments and thoughts, because life is a journey, you walk in it. So in this conversation, who is Pastor T.B. Joshua? T.B. Joshua, the late, because he died in June 2021. He has a church in Nigeria. That's where the headquarters are. But I am aware he has many other branches across the world and a few other parts of Africa as well. And his followers are in Nigeria, across Africa, and actually in the world. He has a television channel that is called Emmanuel TV. And I can confess that that's a television channel that I've even watched it, even where I come from back in Kenya. I know it is there, and maybe I've not watched it as following up, but I know it, even when you scroll in the televisions that watched in Kenya, you will find it is there. So I won't say that this is the first time to hear of the name. This is a name that I've heard, but maybe I can say I've not followed up. So I'm only bringing this from the discussions that have been brought up. So T.B. Joshua, the late, died in June 2021, as I said, and he was 57 years old. So this now documentary that has come from BBC is a documentary that is has come up with some unscrupulous or some moments that they are exposing or unmasking. Maybe just to put a baseline a little bit, Pastor TB Joshua, by the time he was dying, was a married man of cloth, a pastor, married to one wife who is a woman, and 3 known daughters who were all adults. And the wife, by now, is the one who has taken over the church leadership. So he's a man who has been there, having been in ministry and preaching more than 20 years. So this documentary from BBC is telling us that it's an investigation that has been going on for a while. I've watched somewhere, as I'm saying, I've tried to watch a few videos here and there. They're saying more than 2 years, there was investigation that was going on. And it was going on even when he was alive, or some started after he died, because some of the members who are known as disciples, because they were being discipled by him or walking with the late Pastor Joshua in his walk as mentees in the ministry. And this actually is men and women in this case. They came up and brought a story or confessions through the investigations that were being carried by BBC. And I would like also to say at this point, it is what has come up. And as we all know, dead men do not tell tales. So we cannot have a version of Pastor Joshua at this moment, unfortunately. And that is why I'm finding it just a matter of bringing a discussion, because unfortunately, Pastor Joshua will not be there to say he said or he didn't say, he did or he did not do. So these stories are coming up after he has died. And just bringing my thoughts, as I said, is one thing that I'm thinking. I'm thinking like in a church, we have leadership. Even a pastor, when they are pastors, they have leadership. They have maybe other associate pastors within the leadership. We have elders within the leadership. We have ministry workers within the leadership. And I don't know. That is why I'm saying anybody with information, please bring it into comment. Help us to have maybe more insights as we continue to wait what unfolds. So these stories are coming up mostly now that he's dead and buried, which he was buried, I think a week after his death in June 2021, and he was buried within the cathedral, one of the synagogues, the main synagogue compound. My question is, at that time, there is no discussion that was brought. And the discussions that are being brought now is that ladies have come up and they have brought their investigative contribution to that documentary. That
going up to his room in the middle of the night, I always saw young girls coming down the stairs.
And I'm lying there, and then like within 5 minutes, he's basically done his business and like masturbated on me basically. Gets up and says to me, "Okay, you can go."
I was 17 years old. I didn't realise what was happening to me.
You know, at first it was like, remove your top. And I would be uncomfortable with it. And if I didn't do what he wanted, then he would threaten me.
It became so robotic. I disconnected from my body. I just became like a puppet.
It was so hard to come out because
they even fell pregnant for the late Pastor Joshua. They even were forced by the late Pastor Joshua to do abortions. Actually, there is a lady who said she did 3 abortions. And these ladies were from various parts of the world. We have a few African countries. There's a South Africa, Nigeria, Zimbabwe. There is a British, American. Those are the ones I can't remember. I think there's a Philippines as well. But it's ladies, it shows it's across the world membership. And some of them even were traveling from their original home countries to go and live in Nigeria in that church and lodge there. And they were continuing to live there for quite a long time. We even have a lady who said was there being mentored or in that church for 10 years. Someone also said for 14 years, going through the sexual intercourse episode. They're saying they were being brainwashed, but as well, they're saying they used to go for trips, even go out of the country for trips to serve the same ministry. And that is where on listening to all this, I'm wondering what was happening in those cumulative years. And when you look at these people, they seem to be with it. They are not like children. I don't know whether there's anybody who was below 18 years. I'm not privy to that. Unless someone has watched it elsewhere, please share with us, comment, let us know. But most of them are adults. You'll hear even someone saying, oh, they were adults, they had a child. So what I mean is I didn't see any pedophilia kind of even sex. And most of them were calling this pastor daddy.
Shut up! Bye! Keep quiet! What do you want to say? Do you want to argue with Papa? Do you want to argue with Daddy?
And even when other members are being interviewed, you'll see them saying daddy and calling out daddy. To me, even in the circles of church, I've heard that name, whereby members bestow respect greatly to the maybe men of God or to pastors or to wives of pastors, and they call them mommy or daddy. Sometimes they even call ministry workers mommy or daddy. The younger, showing their respect and honor to the older ones. That is fine. That is fine. But also I'm looking at it from this angle. When someone is called a dad or a mom, even in biological aspects, it means you would not want to lure your child, your son, your daughter into anything wrong. And likewise, a daughter or a son has greater respect to be able to honor. As they are saying, they were lured, they were led to do that. But remember, these are adults. I'm wondering, did we have anyone raising a voice or a concern? Because I remember there's one lady who said, after discussion with other members who were also lured into this, they discussed and she was amazed or surprised because she thought she was the only one. The pastor mentioned here, TB Joshua, that was luring into sex. And I tend to think now and stop there and think, even as a Christian, was the doctrine told that sex between a pastor and a congregant is okay? How many members were they going to make it wrong? Because to me, sin has no measurement. There's no small sin and big sin. So sex between a man and a woman, and I'm thinking in this perspective, that pastor and a disciple who is following the pastor is wrong. I'm just wondering how it had to wait for someone being a church member to wait for another one to say, even me, it's being done, for them to say. Did they say at that time and maybe it was ignored? I am not sure why it's coming out now when it's there. That's what I'm saying. Even listening to this story, it's leaving me with a lot of thoughts. Again, the disciples, these women who were lured into sex and even abortion, did they have other church members that they would want to open up unto and tell them? I am aware also that someone can be instilled fear from a figure of authority. Maybe because even they have said, actually, they were told never to say it by TB Joshua, as they are claiming, that they were told if they said they will be sent out of the discipleship and care, that he was taking care of them. And they were instilled fear, as they are saying. So that is why they did not say. And it's true psychologically, when you're brainwashed, you might start to think it is true. But also I'm thinking, the same Pastor Joshua, who was his right-hand man? Because even as pastors and people in authority, we need to have someone who you can open up to and give your struggles. Did he have any church member, like elders in church, other associate pastors, even your wife? He could have opened to the wife and say, I'm struggling in this area. Remember, he is dead. We might never get to know that. Okay? Back to the question. Interestingly, there's a lady who did 3 abortions, same man. And actually, you are even supposed to have sex with your husband, not any other person. No, this one is even their pastor, so they had sex once. And maybe, allow me just to think, they didn't become pregnant the first time they had sex. Maybe it's a couple of times. Pregnancy happens after a couple of months or times they have sex, maybe. Or maybe the first one, it's possible, I'm not sure. But 3 times they had sex and did 3 abortions. I feel like this story is leaving a lot to be desired. It's watering down. I wish we can focus on, so what is the argument here? Or what is the documentary trying to tell us? Okay, and even BBC, what is the hypothesis? What is the main reason of you bringing us that documentary? Is it maybe to see Pastor Joshua, or to see what is happening in church, or to see even the congregant, the way? But since we've not been told, that's why I'm taking this chance to just bring out my thoughts and what I feel from that story. I can't judge. I can't judge the pastor. I can't judge the discipleship, the disciples of the discipler, that is of the pastor. But a few questions that I'm asking myself is, were they having Bible study with the pastor, the disciples, because they were meant to be discipled by the pastor? Pastor TBJ, allow me to call him that in short, TBJ, did he disciple them? And what does the Bible say about having sex out of wedlock, about abortion? When he went to one room to touch one of them, was it in the open? Were they having sex in the open? I think someone said it was in a room. Did she scream? Was she rescued? Did anybody come to rescue? Did anybody come and try to find out why she's screaming? The next day, I'm saying this with a lot of care, because I've taken care of and worked with people in counseling moments, people who have been raped. Let me say both men and women, by the way. Both men and women, I've handled them, and I've seen the trauma. A boy who has been, or a man who has been raped, and a woman who has been raped, it's not easy. How do they continue the next day to continue looking at that man and bowing down in their authority as their pastor every day, and be raped 2 times, 3 times? Were they then acceptably agreeing it as a normal thing, which became now not even rape?
Going up to his room in the middle of the night, I always saw young girls coming down the stairs.
Were they then consummating and becoming part of it, whereby they don't even now scream and they start maybe enjoying by extension? Okay? Back to this pastor. This pastor, where is his conscience? If it is true, remember, when we're having these discussions, it's presumptions and on basic information that has been given by the BBC News, and basically also people who have contributed to the discussion that is going on, the disciples or church members who give their testimonies. So let's assume that this is true, because that is what they say, that Pastor Joshua was guilty of all those events. If you look at it, it would be challenging even to imagine, so what was his teachings then? If he would go to church, to a congregation, and not one woman, 2, 3, many are claiming this is what he did to them, had sexual relationship with them, was manipulative to them, was telling them to keep quiet and make sure his name remains okay in the limelight of people. I'm just looking at that peripheral as it comes, because we don't know the depth. We were not there. We're just a third party consumers of the news. So when I think about it, how was his conscience? when he took himself to God to pray, what was he saying? Okay, let's turn it around to me and you. What we can ask ourselves is, I would rather personally have the fear of God than fear of men. I would rather have a fear of what will God say vis-a-vis what will people say, because it's very possible you can act up or well-rounded up, you can pretend how good you are. But you know what? God, who sees in the secret, in the heart of hearts, knows what we do even in secret, knows what we do. And you see, the fear of God, the Bible says the fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom. So you might be wise, but the beginning of all wisdom that even makes you know that lying to God is a sin will be beneficial when you know where you want to stand. Because a conscience that is disturbed makes someone be limited. Because what virtues are you going to share? For example, he has a family. What were the children emulating? Yes, they didn't know. But now that he's buried, maybe the same dignity they used to see their dad has changed, yet he's not even there to defend themselves. As we said, dead men tell no tales. That's why it's my desire. Let's now jump ahead and say, for parents, it's important for us to help our children grow in virtues. Let's give our children a life skill of fear of God, not fear of men. First, fear of God. Men are supposed to be respected and honored, but not feared. A child should not fear their dad. They should honor them. They should honor the authority. Neither should they fear their mom. They should honor the authority. Neither should a wife fear their husband or their husband fear their wife. They should honor and respect the authority that there where it is. And that helps us to do and endeavor to do always what is right in the presence and absence of the person. So a pastor should not be worried, oh, let me not my congregants, I can manipulate them as long as they don't say. It's not about they don't say, God sees you. So if, for example, it's our children, we need to tell them to speak out. Yes, there is that authority of a pastor, of a teacher, of your dad, of your mom, of your neighbor. Yes, you're a child, but it's important for us to help them know when to say no and know when to report. It's important. They can go to another uncle, they can go to an auntie, they can go to another teacher or to another pastor if it's in a big church and one pastor is manipulating them. Also, this is a generation of searching knowledge. We know they love gadgets. Let them also go and search knowledge and find out, how do I report a certain scenario when it is happening? Because to me, what is bothering is some of these sins are very compounded, which affects children, even their near future and their later future, which affects them psychologically, emotional. Disturbances will be there. They'll be affected, their esteem, their judgments in the future. Because as I was asking myself, even previously I've asked in this video, when a woman is going through raping, it must be very hard. It's a very hard situation even to think about. But my worry is they are raped once by their pastor, then they are raped twice by their pastor and thrice, and they still keep on thinking it is okay. That is really indoctrination and really a sad state of affairs, because I'm wondering, how about their parents? Did they try to tell them, when a man touches you here as a girl, this is a no-go zone, it's your private space? Or as a boy, if you are touched in this space, these areas are supposed to be private. I think we need to open up discussion, because how about a woman doing an abortion for their pastor once, twice, thrice? And that is why, in my thinking, this documentary is still half-baked. It should go all the way. We should be able to even see this woman being brought in the open, an investigation being taken to a greater depth, not just news for BBC to break news or whoever who is breaking news. I think the interest is we need more in-depth investigations. We need to know, so these women, what happened? Okay, they abort 1, 2, 3. How was it? Did they get support mentally, emotionally? Because it's not an easy thing. How are they able to cope, to sit in a congregation whereby they are looking at their pastor who has raped them? How was the pastor also able, because there are men also there who say they were acting miracles. They would video, and a lady also, they would video those miracles of Pastor TB Joshua healing, and it was all fake. So what was their conscience? Were they disturbed? Did they discuss with their family members what is happening? Because at times we might bring such an emotional stirring incident and feel like, oh, we are stirred up, and almost run to the judgmental corner. Oh, this pastor, I've heard so much about him, I think it is true. Or these disciples, I know them, I know that woman, it was not a good woman, I think they are lying. We might want to be emotionally stirred. To me, my desire is, I wish we can be able to go into in-depth all the way, not stopping now. Let's get to know all the details. It's going to help the Christ Church, and it's going to help us even know what lessons are we taking and how are we carrying forward to our children and even into the near future. That is what Karaoke Moments today is having a desire. Life conversations. Let's have healthy conversations. Let's take it to another level. BBC, don't stop. We want to hear more. Congregants who are there, even those are disciples who are saying they were raped and everything. I know you've started it, you've worked with it. We are told it's a couple of years. Some of them by 2007, I think, is when they stopped. Some of them 2010, whichever year they decide this is enough. So I think I saw someone also saying the latest one I've seen, I think, is 2021 or 2020 something, just 2, 3, 4 years ago. Those ones, they should come up with all this and help us understand. Otherwise, it is a very challenging discussion. I won't say that I have it all in my mind. I'm still watching and following and wanting to know more and more. What do you think? What are your comments? What are your thoughts about this? Put in your comments, jot something. Let us have our discussions in the inboxes and in the comments area. Like, subscribe, and continue sharing our videos. Turn on your notifications and watch out for the next video. And just remember, Karaoke loves you. Until we see you again. Bye for now.